Okay, today's scary story is being told to a live audience. We have a guest in the background, an unidentified stranger. I know her, but we're leaving her a mystery because that's the fun part. And I'm going to dive into a story that might take 1 or 2 parts. I don't know, but we'll see. So, today's story is a ghost story that my mom used to tell. I'm going to talk into my AirPod just because I need to do something with my hands. It's a story that my mom used to tell, and it's about a ghost woman at a lake. And I don't think I've covered this one anywhere on the podcast or anywhere. This is a new story. Are you ready?
Yes.
So, the story goes. Okay, take 2 on the story. The Ghost Lady of the Lake. This story used to terrify me as a kid. And my mom claims that she saw this, what I'm about to tell you about, a couple times. So I don't imagine that she's that big of a liar, but I don't know. Sorry, Mom. But this story was terrifying. I used to imagine it and I could just see it. I have a very vivid imagination, so I could just see this in my mind, like it's believable. So my mom claims that she used to go fishing with her mom and some friends at a lake in Kentucky. I have to look at the identified audience while I tell the story. Anyway, they would go to a lake to go fishing with friends, and they would like to night fish. It's like a very,
Night fishing?
Yeah, night fishing.
That's weird.
Like,
okay.
yeah,
Continue.
It seems like you're about to get haunted. That they would go out to the lake at night, and they would have to get out of the car and open this gate to a dirt road and then drive their vehicle down to the lake.
That's not at all suspicious or worrisome
Or terrifying,
at all.
I know. So, okay, that's where we are. Next take on this. We lost part 3 of our clip, and we're a little sad about that because we've lost some of the flavor. But anyway, before we get to part 2 really quick, basically they would go night fishing, and there's a gate that had to be open for them to get down to the road or to the lake. They would have to drive down there. So what we don't know is, did they leave the gate open when they would drive down? We don't know all these parts for sure. But what I imagine happened is that they would drive down to the lake and they would leave the gate open and they would fish until the wee hours, and then they'd have to drive back out down this long, scary, road from the lake. And we're gonna go ahead and go to part 2 right now, part 2. Okay, so on one of these nights they were leaving the lake. This is part 2 of the ghost story. And they would be leaving the lake and get out to open the gate to drive out and then have to shut the gate. So my mom claims that on one of these nights when they were leaving the lake, they saw a ghost woman open the gate, or she would close the gate. So maybe this one night they were scared and didn't want to get out of the car to shut, or like they opened the gate but they were scared. Maybe they got back in the car, I don't know, but they looked back and the ghost woman was closing the gate. Or on another occasion, the ghost woman would open and close the gate for them. And my mom claims that this was like a common occurrence, like that this place that they would fish at. So I do have questions. I don't understand if they were already out of the car to open the gate, unless when they were driving down to the water, they would leave the gate open instead of closing it behind them. That's probably what they did, is they would get out of the car to drive down to the lake and then leave the gate open so that when they came out, the gate was open. You see what I'm saying?
All right, question from the audience over here.
Okay. We have a question.
After the first occurrence of this very kind lady closing and opening the gate, why in the world would they go back to the same spot at nighttime at a lake with a gate who has a ghost attendee?
I'll leave that one for my mom. I'll ask Mom and get back to you. So I imagine what they did is they opened the gate, they drove down, they left the gate open. On their way back out, they would just have to drive through the gate, and someone would probably need to get out and close it. Well, on one of these nights, they looked back and a ghost woman was closing the gate for them. And my mom said she was just a ghost woman, like in a long, flowy white dress, no face or like discerning features, or is that the right word? but nothing that made her look identifiable, but she would just kind of float with this gate and close it. And my mom was a little girl at the time, but she claims that she saw this ghost woman multiple times. So we call her the ghost lady of the lake.
Yeah, after the
And I
first
imagine
or
it
two
kind of looked
times.
like this behind me. Like there's a gate, maybe though, that's missing from this image that I've used. And then imagine this ghost woman just floating to close the gate. Do we call BS on my mom's story or not? What do you think, live audience?
I'm scared to even answer
I think
that
it's real.
question.
I think it's real.
The consistency of the story
The
does...
consistency is true. Now, I never asked my mother the logistics, like, why was the gate open? Where were you guys at? But she said she would look out the back of the car window as a kid and watch this ghost woman, the lady of the lake, close the gate.